Hello, everybody. My name is Tuesday. Today, we're talking about the Rising of the Shield Hero, episode 17. This episode started off pretty abruptly with Fitoria just walking straight up on Nofumi and everyone else eating their lunch and just captured Melty like some evil villain stuff right there. At least later on, however, we found out why such an event happened. But with that being said, in the comments of the episode where I watch anime, that people there were debating why Fitoria was acting the way she was. They ended up with a conclusion saying it's because she has a bird brain is why she's so stubborn and can't be reasoned with. I guess that makes sense in some way. Victoria did say at the end of the episode that her memories from the past aren't recognizable to her anymore. She like barely remembers her master's face. Maybe that's just the way that that guy's hair works. So like I said with the start of the episode being so random, that ability that Victoria used, the wind prison, was super cool. It's even cooler because Melty being encased inside of it is just floating there in midair. I'm really wondering how this ability functions. It's scary how if she moves, then she'll likely end up being sliced in half by the prison. We did see her finger get sliced really easily. That's a pretty brutal prison. You're basically trapped in a case forever, or maybe there could be like a time limit on it. Victoria threatens to hurt or trap Melty until Nofumi promises to be all buddy buddy with the other heroes. Man, I love the reactions online because just like I was talking about in my last review, everyone just like me is saying how difficult to talk with the other heroes in Nofumi will be because we as viewers know how Nofumi is. I guess he is sort of passive aggressively trying to make up with them in a way. That doesn't mean being nice is a part of the program, but he is allowed to be mad because of the way that the world has treated him. Plus, it's impossible to even talk or make up with them when you know Nofumi will be like oppressed and have assassination attempts on himself and his party like crazy constantly in the given event that they were even able to like work together because of the king and stuff like that. Unless the other heroes could mutually start accepting Nofumi as another hero in the future, summoning new heroes is a joke. Like Victoria's point of view would solve nothing because if any of the other nations are as inept as controlling the heroes as the current kingdom is, then the new heroes would turn out as weak as the current ones are, or maybe they wouldn't if the other nations summon them. Can't tell if Victoria's stupid in that regard, or maybe something else going on. How could Nafumi be so stupid at the start of this episode? Like, he didn't even understand Fitoria at first. When she did the whole fake villain thing, I still can't tell if Nafumi was truly in on it at first, as the fighting started to end. This episode is like a bizarre adventure in itself. Like I said last episode, even though Fitoria said straight to his face she would kill him and the other heroes, but then she had to remind him again this episode, then he could finally understand her when she had to pretend to hurt one of his companions. Main character brains are just so weird. Like, how can you not even hear someone 1 or 2 meters or less right at face level? Actually, I think I retract my statement saying I think only Fitoria is stupid. I think I'm neutral now. I think Nafumi's being a little bit of a little bitch, declining Fitoria's offer to reconcile with the other heroes, and he should have just have said that he tried to settle it but with no promises attached instead of him escalating the situation he was in with Victoria even more than it was getting. Even though it ended lightheartedly later on with Victoria saying it was all an act, at least towards the end of the episode, he agrees to at least try to reconcile with them, and her explanation of how it might work seems reasonable with him trying harder. I know because of the comments last week telling me about Victoria's reasoning to stop Nafumi from using the Raid Shield is apparently a good reasoning, but it sucks how she can just stop him from using it just like that. Like nothing. Like, what the hell? Like, what the hell, man? Can she do that to all the other heroes as well? Like, how? I like how dramatic the episode was being, but in more of an odd way because it seemed like the others didn't even take Victoria seriously until till she said that she would kill Nofumi from trying to save Melty. Then we got a reaction shot of them really worried. It's like they knew what was going on, but they were still taking it seriously. You could tell that Fitoria is really weird because of how she wanted to prove Nafumi could actually continue to fight with his current state of mind, but in a way, I suppose she is right, because at the end of the episode, she says how Nafumi and his party is really weak. You see Nafumi agree with her when she says this at the end of the episode? At least that's something we all know as viewers. Unless we see him go boss mode using his inner demon rage shield. So in order to prove that Fitoria can see how strong Nafumi is, she asked to have a one-on-one battle with Philo out of nowhere. At least that's what I thought for a few seconds. Even though Philo is basically an inferior version of Fitoria at this moment until we see otherwise, like we do by the end of the episode once again. Just like always, Nafumi tries to stop the fight near the beginning because he doesn't want to see Philo or any of his other party members get hurt. But at the same time, he can't control Philo because of her, like I said earlier, that darn bird brain is one track mind, totally aloof. I like how for the fight between Philo and Fitoria, they perpetuate Fitoria's godlike magic powers even more by having Fitoria summon a containment shield to conceal Philo and her fight inside an arena, so Nafumi can't help or disturb the match going on. I guess Fitoria can use any ability while living for 1,000 plus years. Powers, magic, and abilities at this point are so in-depth and inhuman, which I guess makes sense because she's a bird, is really unreal. I also like how in the fight Philo used her brawling gloves she got previously for her human form is being used so that way she could fight stronger in the fight against Fitoria. Fitoria also stayed in human form to make the fight just a tiny bit more fair, even though we all know the fight wasn't fair at all with Fitoria being all so godly. Which I guess is a common issue in any series with heroes being barely able to fight against a neutral, bad, or good opponent. In this case, it's Victoria and the enemies during the waves. The world and its certain inhabitants are so strong at this point that not even Nafumi at I think he's at level 40 and the other heroes are at level 60 or 80 can't even compare to the strength of everything else. Is this world just unfair or is something else going on here? It was cool to see Nafumi give fellow advice during the fight, being a little strategic like how he usually is because of how frustrated he was with the situation being thrown at him. We even see him contemplate why Victoria didn't choose to fight him or Talia. It ended up turning out she chose Philo because Victoria sees her as the next filial candidate, like you saw last episode. So Victoria's gauging Philo's strength, like with how she's leveled up with Nafumi as her owner, because heroes having a filial or any type of creature as a partner is they level up differently in this world. During the fight, we see Nafumi try to sneak away to save Melty in that wind prison because Fitoria is way too brutal fighting Philo right now because Philo just can't handle a fight. But when Fitoria sees Nafumi do this, she in just one wave of her hand can just shoot 3 laser beams at Nafumi, break through his shield's defenses, throw him into a wall, and make him cough up blood and be almost killed half-heartedly. Like, dude, just way too OP. Like most of like any other Isekai series with we would see an MC being the OP one, but in this series we see Fitoria be the OP one, even though that she's just a neutral threat instead of actually being an actual enemy. For some reason, I guess she can be a super strong obstacle for the main character in this party to go through. Like I said before, watching this was just insanity. That bitch slap afterwards by Fitoria right before Nafumi gave Philo that little push to almost win the battle was just wow. I guess Nafumi did cheat to save Melty, but in his head, Fitoria is the enemy right now. That's being all crazy and insane at the moment. So him helping Melty is realistic, but Fitoria has no time for Nafumi to save no one. One thing that I forgot to mention in this review is how in the manga, when Nafumi was trying to save Melty and try to save her and stuff like that, and when Fitoria attacked him in the manga, like that attack was like in the anime it was pretty brutal with him being pushed back and coughing up blood and like barely being barely able to move, but in the manga when he got attacked it seemed a lot more brutal. Like he was like bleeding like crazy. It seemed like she like crushed him almost, if I'm remembering correctly, but maybe it could have happened a little bit more differently, but I remember it being a lot more brutal. Maybe even in the light novel web novel it might have been even more brutal, but like it seemed a lot more brutal in the manga, but it was still a pretty good scene anyways. The climax of that fight was really fantastic and really disappointing at the same time because the anime made us think Victoria has gone evil, but she wasn't, and somehow Nafumi knew this. I guess, was it Melty or was it Raftalia that mentioned how did she do it on purpose? I guess Philo destroyed her like special gloves in the scuffle, which is sad, but at least she acquired a new move set or ability. Were those her bird claws that she got from the slave merchant, or something, or maybe something that she got from the blacksmith, or something new, or something else entirely? Because I have no idea. So we also saw Victoria egg on Philo with words of like meaning, with 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 bad words, sort of like how a villain or a training arc teacher would give an MC or a love rival in any other show. So we see Fitoria tell Philo how she couldn't save anyone, or basically how she could like never be strong as her and stuff like that. And I love how Nafumi got up with Hortalia's help, and instead of him being even more worried about Philo, instead I enjoyed the fact of seeing him telling Philo that he believes in her and that he believes that she could actually do it, like win the fight, that she could win. This ends up encouraging Philo to rush at Fitoria at full speed, but Fitoria calls this calls this going too slow. Like she just during the fight, she just says that she's like too slow for her. But we did see her like there's a point where Philo does like attack her, and then Victoria just dodges with just like one like swift step away, which is cool. I'm about to go off track right here and talk about how not just me and all the other viewers watching this episode, we we even witnessed the characters in the show itself say that Fitoria is literally a god. We see Fitoria start to suck the magicals within the air, the mana energy, and she starts to heal or I guess charge up an attack, but it ends up being a shield, which I guess she's able to see the future because somehow she knew that Philo was going to attack, so she made a shield, even though that I guess that it could have been for an attack, but then she changed it into a shield. But yeah, she just like consumed that mana like nothing from within the air. We see Melty say how impossible of a feat it is to even like consume mana like that. Like basically the show is making her invincible. And I don't remember her particularly being this strong in the manga. Like I knew she was strong. Maybe it may or may not be different in the light novel or red novel, but the anime is basically telling us Victoria is the most strongest character in the whole show's universe. Unless Glass ends up all being that strong or less, who knows about her. I have no clue how to feel about it, but it's epic to witness and shocking to say the least. We then see Victoria get a cool flashback where when Nafumi told Philo she could do it, we then see for a split second a moment of Victoria's past. Her previous owner told her she could also do it as well in the past. Like that must have been a moment similar to this. Her past hero master looks like a generic green colored soldier, but I guess it was kind of silver too, like silver green, sort of like Nafume. So I think even though that we had that glorious moment beforehand where Philo charged with all her might at Fitoria at full speed, she ended up destroying her special gloves, like I mentioned earlier. That somehow after destroying them, Philo unlocked a new power to summon a drill claws, like a drill, like it looked like three claws that were just drilling into her to attack Fitoria. Fitoria protected herself with that shield, but then Philo destroyed the shield. But it's kind of funny that after Philo broke through the shield, she was only able to slice Fitoria's cheek and get a small scratch on it. And then Fitoria is just like, hmm. But at least after she scratched Fitoria, and after Fitoria had that nice flashback of her old master in her mind, she gave up the match and let Philo win by default. Easy win. I guess Victoria was in a good mood and was a little impressed by the scratch in that small moment. After that, we see everyone get back together and talk it out a little and converge into one spot. Victoria heals Philo's wounds, and to be honest, I have no clue what she was doing at that moment because the music or sound effects when she was healing Philo was just really weird. It seemed like a really weird scene. After that, we see Victoria say that all that drama-filled stuff was sort of her attention, that she did it on purpose. But at the same time, it's but at the same time, I still have no idea how. Like, it seemed like only Nafumi knew about it, but no one else did. They all look pretty scared to me. I really want to know what Victoria's true power is, because she did say that she fights waves all on her own. So I guess she must be like just god level, just god level. Then we see Victoria give Philo a crown for her to pass on her like I guess like queen powers onto her, and then we see that when she puts the crown onto Philo's head, that Philo grows a single hair pointing straight up. It's sort of like how Victoria has three strands pointing up, and instead Philo has one. But if one equals three, wouldn't have like even more of a boost in strength? But I guess like having like hair strands as power is kind of a unique but really weird at the same time. We see Nafumi check Philo's hair in his in-game window, and we see that Philo's stats have been increased even though she's at a level cap. I completely forgot they were even level capped because they weren't able to use the Dragon Hourglass because of how the king and the church forbid him from being allowed to even level up using the hourglass. So much stuff has happened in the show at this point that I completely forgot most of what the story was even about. I guess they need to actually use the hourglass to like progress past their levels because right now they're only at level 40. So I guess Phil got that upgraded and got stronger without even getting that class upgrade, which is cool. But I guess Victoria's just able to do anything. She's just able to use any type of magic, whatever she wants, to just do whatever she wants. Just imagine if she met up with the other heroes. I really wonder how their interaction would be like. I did find out towards the end during Nafumi and Victoria's talk, she only wanted to talk to Nafumi because he seemed like a better person to connect with than all the other heroes, which I guess the other heroes just aren't worthy for her. Nafumi also got something from Victoria, and those gifts were kind of weird. So she said that she would heal him for the attack she sent at him earlier that almost killed him. She healed him, but apparently she can even heal clothes. Like my small criticism right here that I have, and even with other fantasy like stories and animes, is that somehow healing wounds can somehow also allow you to heal metal and clothing as well. Healing like that is just so absurd to see. Like it's so random with zero explanation whatsoever. But I guess we don't need it. We then see her tear off a strand of her hair strands, that the three that are on her head, and feeds it to Nafumi's shield. He looks at it, and we see him unlock a whole bunch of shields from the Falolia section. I guess he didn't need to kill any of them, but I would say like maybe he wouldn't do it because of Philo, but Philo just she like doesn't care. She like doesn't, because like a few episodes back she wanted to like eat them when they first met Melty, and like she wasn't Philo wasn't even impressed that she even got appointed as the next queen. Like when Fitoria dies, I guess she would be friends with him, but she wouldn't probably like control them like Fitoria would. Who knows what she's like? Wow. So Fitoria says like before like the ending of the episode where they have the conversation, she says that she wants to have a proper conversation with Nafumi like she did last episode during the night. But before we as viewers even got to see it, we had to see borderline filler of Philo and Melty doing stuff with the Flolias. Even Raftalia was a part of it, but such a waste. Like we didn't need to see that montage, but I guess it just added cuteness. It's really cool that during the conversation between Nafumi and Fitoria in this episode is that she says that if Nafumi allies himself with the other heroes, that she would allow herself to actually fight with them, which in my opinion is a pretty good incentive to like for him to do it, because like she did say that she fights waves on her own, so having that as an ally if he were to like get like the other heroes to work with him would be a pretty good thing to like have. I just think that Victoria could do things on her own. Like she could herself shut up mine and shut up like the king and stuff like that because of how powerful she is. But she's just lazy and she just doesn't want to do it. She just wants Nafumi to do it himself, to figure it out himself and do this thing for himself, even though like his thoughts and like the way that he does things like are so different that he'll just come to different conclusions that Victoria like might not even want him to do. Also, during the conversation, we see that Fitoria mentions to Nafumi about a decision in the future that will help him fight against the waves, and says to choose fighting for the world or fighting for the people. Now, I don't know if that happened or not yet in the manga, but if it has to do with what I'm thinking about is happening currently in the current chapter of the manga, I think they're at that decision maybe right now in the manga. And Nafumi will need to choose one or the other, or maybe that's a different situation that's going on right now with what I'm thinking about. But so maybe I don't know. So after that, at the end of the episode, just like I've been saying for the past few reviews, just like Victoria says to Nofumi, I think I've said in earlier in this episode is that the four other heroes are super weak and they need to do some, I guess, grinding. Because like at the beginning when Nofumi was like leveling up, he was like fighting monsters like again and again and again. But recently, because of all the drama, he hasn't been doing that. So I guess maybe like he'll need to do sort of like what he did when he fought against the giant like three-headed like dog. He would need to fight like higher level monsters because he's a low level. If he like if he fought monsters at like 50 or 60, then he would rank up. I think someone told me that if all the heroes weren't together when they fought on that boat against Glass, that they would probably rank up like a lot higher. But because they were all together, because when they're all together, like the system works differently. So I guess like they would need to like be alone during waves in order to rank up quickly. So I guess we'll need to see that for the future. So of course, because of like Fitoria telling Nafumi so of course Nafumi automatically tells Fitoria that he'll just use the Rage Shield because that's the only thing that he can use. Because we know that once she said that him and the other four heroes are weak, the only thing that can make Nafumi strong is the Rage Shield. So then, and we know that she doesn't like that, but at the same time, she still hasn't given him any alternatives yet. Because right now, that's the only power that he has to literally fight anything in existence. And then she ends up giving him a gift because of this. She has another stat upgrade. She gave a stat upgrade to Philo, but then she needs to give one to Nafumi's Rage Shield, so that way the next time that he uses it, that it won't harm his mind as much as it did before. And I guess like the dragon that's in it won't be able to affect his mind either to like control him as much as before. After this, we also see a pretty cute moment between Nofumi and Fitoria because she keeps on having flashbacks to her old hero. And I think I actually like Fitoria now. She's grown on me throughout this review and episode. I keep on calling her stupid and stuff like that because of like how just because of the way that she is, but her cute moments make me like her a little bit, and I guess like it overrides like the way that she does things. And like I said, because of like Nafumi keeps on like triggering events in Fitoria's memory of her old like master, her old owner, like one of the original heroes. Did she say original hero or just a random hero? But like I don't know if these flashbacks are anime only because they would mess with the story at all or anything like that, or if they're normal flashbacks. But like just like last episode, I'm pretty sure her hero has to be a past shield hero, right? Because at this point, it makes so much sense to me, but that's how it has to work because of how Nafumi as the shield hero has like such a connection to her, especially with her like laying down on his lap and like her like patting her head and her like crying and stuff like that. Not like a silent cry, so he doesn't know. Even though that he was being very passive aggressive about it, asking her to get off and stuff like that, which is kind of funny. But if that hero ends up not being the shield hero, like he would have to be like the sword or spear hero because he doesn't really look like a bow hero. He looks more like, but like he would have to be like a shield or a sword hero at the end if we were to ever find that out. Like maybe if there was more, there's probably more information maybe that other people know that I don't know. No, maybe we don't know anything about that hero that was in her. After that, so after the ending song, we saw a little scene where we saw the bow and sword hero get to a random forest. Somehow they ended up in a labyrinth under the three heroes church, like trying to find out what's going on with Nafumi, but then somehow they ended up in a forest. Like they went to a church, then the forest. Like wonder what they read there that led them to a forest, but apparently the forest led them to a mysterious cave that apparently is the grave of the past four cardinal heroes' weapons. Like was it a grave for the heroes or was it a grave for the weapons? I might need to go check it out because I don't know. Then they find nothing, which I guess someone must have taken stuff because if the church had like notes that took them there, I guess they did something with whatever was there. And then after that, there was a huge explosion. Just a huge explosion happened, and it killed all of them. Like a huge white light appeared, and they died. Now, I have no idea how they're going to survive that, but like none of like this stuff with them never happened in the manga, so I have no idea if that's light novel or web novel stuff, but maybe it's just original stuff that they're showing. I'm pretty sure someone might have mentioned that to me, but other than that. So seeing Ren's and Itsuki's little short adventure is a pretty interesting view experience we witnessed because we never got to see that stuff in the manga like I mentioned before. But damn, seeing that ginormous explosion happen right out of nowhere because it seemed like a trap. If it was a trap, it probably was mine because we saw mine last episode, like sneaking up on them and like watching them and telling them not to get involved, but they got more involved, so she had to raise her hand, or maybe it might have been someone else. But if that's her plan, like if her plan was to kill Ren and Itsuki, she's dumb, or maybe it was the church that did it because it just seems so dumb. Because if they killed because if they were to be able to kill Nafumi afterwards, they would only have the spear hero, and the world would literally end because you need all four heroes. That's literally Fitoria's message. Like the last episode and this episode, you need the four heroes. So if the church or mine were to kill all the heroes, but the spear hero, they have no chance unless they have secret weapons, which seems to not be the case because like the plan is flawed if it's mine or the church's because this just seems like such a stupid plan. Like I have no idea what they would think of afterwards. With that being said, we all know who is going to be probably getting blamed for killing Ren Itsuki is probably going to be Nafumi next episode, and then but I really want to see how Renizki survived that giant light explosion or just explosion in general because like if it's gonna be like them and their party members just like nearly escaped, like if we see like a flashback scene and if it's them nearly escaping, that's I'm just gonna rage quit. That's just impossible. They were there when the explosion happened, so unless they have like some sort of like secret shield or maybe all the mages in their party, or if they have mages, are able to like block it, but it's just bull if something like that happens. The next episode I saw is called Conspiracy Linked. So I guess Ren and Itsuki probably like were able to like link together what's going on, or maybe someone else finds out something like something is happening. So I guess we'll see some really big drama or truth bombs being thrown around. I guess we're getting. I get because I sort of remember what's happening in the manga. We're gonna get to some pretty interesting stuff that's pretty exciting and also pretty whack. Because I saw the preview for next episode, and we're gonna see stuff that happened in the intro song with like the giant light hitting Nafumi because I saw that in the preview, and these events are gonna be pretty crazy in the next coming weeks. It's probably going to be a pretty wild ride. So yeah, this is the end of the video. I think I'm probably going to give this episode like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I have no clue if I'll ever review this episode like I did this time because if you this episode probably seemed really weird to you. This isn't like my regular reviews. This is me like I watched the episode back on Wednesday. It's like Friday morning right now, so this episode is gonna be. I reviewed this really weirdly because of I forgot to record and stuff like that, and I didn't know want to know if I was able to like record it again the way that I usually do. But this is really weird. Next week it's gonna go back to normal. So yeah, if you thought this review was okay, then leave a comment saying it's okay. If you didn't like this at all, then tell me in the comments below, and then I'll change it the way I used to. Or maybe if you liked it this way, then I'll keep it this way. But yeah. All that being said, if you enjoyed this video, my thoughts, my opinions, and the way that I did this, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy this at all, then leave a dislike if I did a bad job. And then, yeah, see you guys next week in my next review of Shield Hero or any other video I might do. And yeah, bye. See you later.